guys, so this is called War Directives, and it has two sections. One is man versus man, and one is stand in the gap. And I got this on 4/13/24. Number 1, man versus man. Why does one group of men rise against another? This has always been so since Cain rose against Abel. Why? Selfishness. Man who is selfish will be jealous, angry, hurt, and will try to take another man's life or goods. Some men crave power or covet another man's wife, goods, or land, and they feel in their selfishness that they deserve it. All of the reasons, which are many, come down to selfishness. I call men to think of others first, to be selfless, to have agape love, and to do what is best for the other, to forgive, to turn the other cheek, to offer kindness and love when confronted with selfishness. I do not like to see brother versus brother, man versus man, or needless pain, losses, and murder. But when confronted, there are appropriate times to stand and fight back in war, defending one's family, defending one's home, helping the country. War is won in strategy, obedience of the army to the commander, and with a superior advantage of some sort. In the days of old, war was more barbaric and cruel. Over the years, war has grown to be deceitful and often hidden. The goal of war is always the same over time: to win. War is upon you. It has been upon you. The kings have been deceitfully bringing war against their own people for decades. Energy weapons that distort man's cellular function. Weather manipulation to destroy the very places their people live. Yes, the kings maintain what you know as traditional war with guns, bombs, and planes. But the war on their own people has been rooted in deceit. These are both true. But an old form of war, a very barbaric war, is to return. Your societies are sophisticated. Your people unaware of how to survive on their own by providing their own basics. When the kings take out power and the stores are empty of food, survival will take on a new barbaric face. Those in hunger and pain will lash out at those with no lack. They will be barbaric because they will be brought to their most carnal selves by the demons within them. There is also another barbaric war by those who wish to rule the world. They will resort to ancient ways of war: torture, skinning alive, burning alive, taking captives back to their native land with a foreign tongue, separating families, selling women and children as slaves. Horrors not seen in your time, only things you read about in books. Man will reach his worst points in human history. He will be fully carnal, fully evil, fully darkness. Why? Selfishness. But should you fear this? Yes and no. This barbaric war will reach all lands. It will be more horrific than all of the crusades and more harsh than any evil empire. So a healthy fear of it, to stay out of it, is wisdom. However, the wise should seek to be spared from this. Is it possible to be spared? Yes, for mine. All who lean into me and pray and seek me as their shelter will be spared. Guard your eyes as the horrors arise. Be of good cheer and focus on me. None will escape this unless they are in full trust in me. I will guide your steps. I will alert you to prepare or run or hide or relax. Be at peace and simply pray in faith. I see all. I am the way through all the types of war that man can think up. This has always been true. Recall David, who was hotly pursued by King Saul. Was he harmed? No. Why? Because he had faith in me. Rahab's entire city was to be under siege. She was not even of my people originally, but she had faith when shown who I was. In her faith, she was spared the consequences of her city. Recall Esther, who seemed to be a prisoner girl, a girl who never wanted to be taken into the king's harem. In faith, she stood up and saved all of her people from death, as I prompted her. Joseph was sold as a slave, betrayed by his very kin. But what they meant for harm, I turned to good. I took him to a faraway land strategically, and although at times he doubted, I always had a plan to save his entire family. Through what seemed to be a tragedy, for he was always faithfully serving me, a child of promise. The Bible is also filled with stories of those that were faithful in war and uncertain circumstances. But those who have faith, I kept them safe and provided deliverance at the right time. Read of those who did not have faith. What was my reaction? Those who did not trust me were swallowed by the ground in Moses' time, taken out by lightning and fire when being adulterous in my presence before the altar, allowed to fail at war when trying to do it in their own power and not in my power. As Moses held up his arms to win a battle, what weapon could be employed but faith? I always spare my own who have faith. I always allow harms to befall those who lack reverence. Be wise. War is upon you. Be nestled in my protection. Bring me your worship, love, honor, and give me your worries and troubles and needs. I will provide. I am faithful. Be in me. Number 2, stand in the gap. You hear me. You read my words. You pray fervently. Stand in the gap for those who do not. When people's hearts are stirred for me, they will not automatically know how to understand my word or how to pray or how to hear me. Stand in the gap. Pray now for all that will come. Pray that they will be given people near them to model each skill they need. Stand in the gap and pray that each one comes near, praying in humility and faith, repenting, and will become obedient to my words. Stand in the gap and pray that each person is stirred for me and has their chains broken fully and their hearts softened so that they come to me with a pure heart. Stand in the gap. Pray for them now. Pray for these that will. Okay, here's the verses. Exodus 17, 8 through 16. The Amalekites came and attacked the Israelites at Rephidim. Moses said to Joshua, choose some of our men to go out and fight the Amalekites. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of God in my hands. So Joshua fought the Amalekites as Moses had ordered, and Moses, Aaron, and Hur went to the top of the hill. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning, but whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held up his hands, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady until sunset. So Joshua overcame the Amalekite army with the sword. Then the Lord said to Moses, write this on a scroll as something to be remembered, and make sure that Joshua hears it, because I will completely blot out the name of Amalek from under heaven. Moses built an altar and called it, the Lord is my banner. He said, because my hands were lifted up against the throne of God, the Lord will be at the war with the Amalekites from generation to generation. Psalm 91. Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord God, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. Surely He will save you from the fowler's snare and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart. You will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at midday. 1,000 may fall at your side, 10,000 at your right hand, but it will not come near you. You will only observe with your eyes and see the punishment of the wicked. If you say, the Lord is my refuge, and you make the Most High your dwelling, no harm will overtake you, no disaster will come near your tent. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hand so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread on the lion and the cobra, and you will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because he loves me, says the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. He will call on me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. With long life, I will satisfy him and show him my salvation. Regarding war, we already know that Israel's going to be hit first before the U.S. That's been in lots and lots of previous prophecies and dreams and all sorts of things that I've already put out. Now, related to that, I was told that the Dome of the Rock will be in destruction, and this escalates issues. Then the second thing is, I was given one day these words, brothers slaughter brothers. Why? It's a game of kings. It's to build fear because fear fuels power for them. And they kill for sport. On 2:24, I was told those who settle in Jerusalem, trouble comes. Okay, now this is a dream with a bunch of information. It was given on 3/11/2023. It's pretty brief. And I'm just going to preface right now, this dream is not about me because of the timing within this. There's other dreams that I've had that place this timing as after the anointed are already gone. Therefore, this dream was only given to me as a point of reference, like a literary element that I'm in it. So it's a point of reference of what families will feel like and what they will go through based on what has been done to them and what education they don't have, etc., etc. So this is a brief dream. It's kind of cool, but it's a little strange in the beginning. So I was driving and the road became super rocky, like way worse than an old country road. The rocks were giant and they became like boulders. But I just kept driving over them, even though it was really a wild ride. Like it was like a really bad theme park ride. Then the road turned into a hill and it was super rocky, but I kept driving straight. No matter how rough the ride was, at one point I remember thinking the car is going to flip over because the rocks under were so high and so irregular. The terrain was so bumpy, but the car held on. Even though I thought it was more than the car could bear, it could handle it. I got to the top of the hill, and from the vista of the top of the hill, I could see bright, white, puffy clouds. And strangely, I had the option to drive in the sky upwards. So you could either stay on the hill or you could drive upwards. And there were road lines with yellow boundaries and a yellow dotted line for the lanes. And I decided to take, at this fork in the road, I decided to take the sky and I headed straight into the clouds. As soon as I hit the clouds, the scene switched and I was in this beautiful, crystal clear lake, swimming and floating. I was so relaxed. The water was the perfect temperature. The perfectly placed river rocks below were not slimy at all. They were beautiful, like artfully placed. I felt a very deep joy in this water. Next, there was the brightest light imaginable. And then the face of Jesus was looking right at me through the light. The next scene, I was in a beautiful white gown of some sort, and I was at an ancient door. I was looking at my feet and the bottom of this beautiful door, and I was told to keep my eyes downward. The door slowly opened, and this amazing, pure, bright, white light came bursting out of the door. I knew I was supposed to keep my eyes down, but I just couldn't help myself. For I saw across the room at the floor interesting and beautiful moldings that caught my eye, and it drew my eye upward so I could see and follow them where they ended. There was a small platform directly ahead, and it had handcrafted, curved moldings in white on a solid white wall that was resembling a cathedral window. But there were no windows. It was just a decorative molding on the wall. And the ceiling was like a rotunda, and the moldings curved upwards and into the center of the rotunda. I was admiring the craftsmanship that it must have taken for such a feat. It was the most beautiful thing I think I've ever seen, and the light in this room was perfect. Bright, but not too much. I began to look to the left where the source of light was coming from, and I had a knowing that God was standing toward my left. I could feel him. Then I said in the dream, "Is this God's personal residence?" And then I awakened. So, to put that in reference, my daughter and I have both had dreams where we are dining with Jesus and Moses and God and different things, and we're hosting sometimes, they're hosting sometimes, and they take human form, and we dine together, and we talk, and we sit around. So, it wasn't that far of a jump for me to understand that God could have a personal residence, that he doesn't just exist in a spirit, that he has a home. But the whole point of this, I think, is that we will indeed see bumpy terrain, and it will feel like we will lose control of our car or our ministry or our lives, but we are to stay focused on what is to come, the majesty of heaven, the amazing truth that we are going to see Jesus and God and live in eternal bliss in heaven for eternity. Have hope, friends, and stay focused. All right, so that's it, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time.